Hi everyone, my name is Heidi Biggs, and I, along with Cayla, Audrey Desjardins, and Afroditi Psarra, will be presenting our pictorial called Moving Design Research, GIFs as Research Tools. We would also like to note that 2 of our projects received funding. Voices and Voids was funded by a UW Mellon Faculty Fellowship in the Arts, and Proceed with Care received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Grant Agreement number 813508. In this pictorial, we ask how GIFs are used to conduct and communicate design research. We think of this pictorial as an annotated portfolio showcasing 4 different cases of our own design research, where we used animated GIFs for ethnography, speculative design, and arts-based research. We showcase our GIFs using a QR code that led to a website where our GIFs were displayed. Ultimately, our goals in this pictorial were to highlight the craft and effort that go into artful creation of GIFs and discuss how that contributes to design research, offer an example of a mode of making artifacts for knowledge production and research through design, and to demonstrate how GIFs helped us explore speculative, imaginative, and entangled spaces quickly in thoughtful, colorful, and animated ways. GIFs have been studied as ways to quickly share information and augment text-heavy digital communications. But to discover how designers use GIFs, we did a lightweight survey, finding that they're often used to show interior details of designs and bite-sized stories, and to demo material properties and/or processes. Also related to design, we suggested GIFs operate much like sketching, a way to ideate on, synthesize, and communicate findings. Our methodology was to create an annotated portfolio using examples from our own research. We first wrote about our own research with GIFs, responding to a unified set of prompts, such as, why did you choose to use GIFs for this project? How were they made? What did you learn from making them? How are they disseminated? And what aesthetic choices did you make? Inspired by dual ethnography, we commented on each other's narrative reflections, drawing out details and themes. We then created a Miro board to organize our examples and solidify themes.
The first set of GIFs we explore in this pictorial are from the project Proceed with Care. For this project, there were 4 GIFs, collectively called the Catalog of Spectacular Things, presented on a website for participants' reactions. These GIFs were speculative provocations, which used feminist notions of care to reimagine home IoT. To capture those theoretical ideas while still feeling personal, crafted with care and lively, each GIF was co-embodied by a short audio vignette told from the thing's perspective. By playing with each GIF's loop, I found I could differentiate temporalities in the narratives like reveries or past experiences. For example, in this concept, the blanket goes into a rambling, tangential reverie. 90s sitcom-style jazz music begins to play, and the GIF's irregular frame transitions help to evoke an unpredictable and slightly off-kilter vibe. I arranged the frames almost randomly and set the frame delay anywhere between 0.2 and 2 seconds, a 10x range. It was important that these GIFs felt sketchy, slightly abstracted, and just ungrounded enough to suspend disbelief. That way, reactions to them weren't about their feasibility, but their situated ethical implications. This was accomplished in part by using grayscale, a watercolor brush, and subtle animations, as in this example, where I represent the IoT's subtle yet active and literal voice by keeping all but 1 or 2 elements static and focusing attention on those elements. But this abstract open-endedness of the GIF's imagery and style sat in juxtaposition to the intimate and rooted telling of the audio narratives. I was the hand, the mind, the voice, and the motion behind these multimodal representations. And as a researcher, this made me feel in conflict at times. They were, after all, empirical tools for speculation.
In this case, I examined the ways I used GIFs to help me prototype a speculative research through design project where I built a mechatronic pair of pants that rise in areas of Seattle, Washington, where climate change will cause sea level rise in 30 to 80 years. The initial concept for these pants were vague, and I needed to work through the material and mechanical constraints and metaphors simultaneously. I used GIFs to do this at an early prototyping stage. I saw this as a way of testing my design on the body and motion before I had any real artifact built yet. I created these prototypes by building a template of a cyclist in motion using video stills, and then drew my favorite designs in motion over the template. This helped me think through material problems. For example, I thought beads would be cool because they were sloshy and cold like water. But would beads swing into the chain? Would they be too heavy and clunky? The GIFs also had a wavery, jittery quality instead of being too mechanical or precise, which incorporated a speculative quality to the pants. And due to their looping nature, they helped me bring small details of the design to life, like beads swinging or pant legs interacting. Another example of a way that I used GIFs from the same project was as a documentation tool which told mini stories about my prototyping process to convey my design decisions. Throughout the course of my making and crafting process, I took videos of my completed ideas with my phone. These videos were often messy and imperfect. However, I could take them into Photoshop and crop the perfect moments I thought represented complete ideas. Making concise stories from my imperfect videos helped me communicate my thinking and embodied the spirit of prototyping aesthetically. This GIF shows a material prototype. The image goes kind of sideways and off screen because I'm filming and pulling on it at the same time. Other prototypes capture failures, but still helped me show the breadth of ideas that I tested and which I counted as complete. These GIFs really helped me communicate my design rationale and process, where in this case I was often developing rather strange prototypes where hardware was mounted on soft fabrics. So in venues like Medium articles and presentations, GIFs helped me reduce the cognitive work for me, the author, and the audience to grasp the physics and workings of my prototypes. I also surrounded my GIFs with context like words, captions, and other still images to build arguments around my design process and rationale.
The last case we look at is voices and voids. The goal of the project was to reclaim voice assistant data as a way to subvert who commonly uses, benefits, and controls these data.
Through our multidisciplinary work, we created 12 vignettes transcoding data through movement, sound, spoken word, and interactive visual compositions. While originally intended as a live performance and installation, the COVID-19 pandemic pushed us to create a website to disseminate the work. The long scrollable homepage includes animated GIFs, interactive typography, and still images, acting as buttons to each vignette. Inspired by early net art aesthetics, we lean towards fast-moving, offbeat, unpredictable, and colorful GIFs. Their non-synchronized rhythms created enough tension to draw attention to the many portals at once, allowing visitors to freely scroll up and down the page and choose their own path.
Together, they present a common aesthetic language, offering thematic links between the vignettes. For example, the irregular and unnatural looping of these GIFs intensifies the eerie feeling that voice assistants might not remain disembodied voices. The GIFs also worked as micro-performances. Everyday artifacts became characters on the homepage white background stage. The rhythm, timing, and movement of these animated GIFs each told short stories, further uncovering new perspectives of voice assistants.
In our discussion, we reflect on the unique qualities of GIFs as a design research tool. GIFs have their own aesthetics of motion, which employ loops, rhythms, and temporalities, and speculative qualities. Looping was used in various ways throughout our research. Audrey and Afroditi used weird-feeling loops to challenge viewers to rethink voice assistants' relationship to bodies, while Cayla and Heidi used more subtle loops to highlight details of designs. Rhythms and temporalities help create either steady or offbeat feelings in GIFs, such as the way Cayla used either steady or arrhythmic GIF timings depending on the concept narrative she was weaving. GIFs also took on speculative qualities, balancing levels of fidelity and whimsicality, concretizing some details while leaving ambiguity. Motion was used to give life to the design and art concepts, and some GIFs had jittery and imperfect or dreamy qualities. We also found that GIFs were rich, concise, and contextual tools. GIFs conveyed a lot of information very quickly, telling mini stories or giving mini performances, or quickly filling in many details about the functioning and concept under development. But we also found that GIFs were complemented by and complementary to surrounding contexts, like still images, text, narration, or fellow GIFs, bringing life, emotion, open-ended exploration, and additional layers of meaning to our GIFs. In conclusion, we hope this work both inspires others to use GIFs, but also adds to the canon of the potential of research through design and making-based knowledge production. Second, as more design researchers might choose to use media like GIFs in their work, and as AMC SIGCHI is slowly moving to more flexible online publications, we find it important to consider how GIFs and media might exist in archival forms of research publications. Thank you very much.